and it just creates some tension and makes the sample sound more dark. Yo guys, what's up and welcome to another tutorial. Today I'm going to show you how to make crazy samples in the style of Travis Scott. Not even like how to make crazy samples, but I'm going to show y'all how to make these patterns, like these bell patterns and even top lines for people like Travis Scott and Kanye West. So first of all, I'm going to show y'all one sample and then show y'all how I made the bell pattern and the top line. Then after that, I'm going to switch to another sample which has like the same like type of main melody and style for Travis Scott. And then after that, I'm going to show y'all another sample and I'm going to explain everything step by step on how I made these melodies. And I'm going to show y'all some really effective effect chains which can make your main melodies and samples sound way better. And I'm talking about full effect chains with like portal, shaper box and everything else, but I'm gonna show y'all everything else in this video and completely in depth. And please let me know if y'all like these type of videos in the comments. I would really appreciate that because it's something new. It's not just a sample breakdown, but it's going in depth on making samples and making like samples specific for one type of rapper. So if you like it or if you have some critique, please let me know in the comments and please let me know what I can do better. And with that being said, please make sure to leave a like and to subscribe to my channel. It would really mean a lot. And please don't forget to check out my kids store. The link for that is in the description. And with that being said, yeah guys, let's go. For the first sample, which y'all have heard, I have this sample right here, and it's a very simple sample, but I have this one effect chain which makes your samples sound way more unique and way more vintage. And I'm gonna show it to y'all, but first I'm gonna show y'all the pattern. And the pattern is looking like this, as you can see. And for the sound I used Omnisphere, but to be more precise, I used the Keyscape Creative Library, and I used the Mist of the Ringing Hollows bell, which sounds insane and perfect for these type of samples. And I laid down this pretty simple pattern, because for these type of beats, you don't always have to have like a complex melody or like a completely crazy and unique bell sound or anything else. Most of the beats use like pretty generic sounds for their samples, but that's what works, and the effect chain is what makes it so unique. And first of all, I'm gonna show y'all the normal pattern, which you can see right here. But first of all, I'm gonna explain how I made this pattern, where I basically just laid down this A, then copied it up and put in C right here, just to make like an A minor chord, but I removed the E. And then for the second like chord, I used the same thing, but I moved the C to an B, and then just have this plain C right here, and then just copied it over, as you can see, but I added some bass notes right there, just to get some variation in the sample. And then I just have this E and B and F and C and then an E and B again, just for like some transitions. Then I just copied it over, as you can see, for these 8 bars. I didn't randomize the velocities, I didn't strum it, as you can see. And first of all, the finished pattern without the effects is sounding like this. And then I rendered the sample out with the effect chain, and on the effect chain there is this shaper box too, where I just have the panning option on, then this portal with the trace waves preset, then this simple halftime on its default settings. I just turned the loop option from 1/2 to 1/4, then this simple EQ where I just cut out some of the lows, this simple soothe, which is one of the best plugins, if not the best plugin for EQing samples like automatically. I just put it to the hard setting and the depth to 4.1, then this simple EQ where I just cut out some more lows and ducked some of the highs, and I had it 25% in stereo. And then I added the mastering, and then I added the effect chain. I pitched it up by 3, put them on to stretch, and then for the effects on this bell that I rendered out, I have this OCS 45, which I just had on for the noise, the distortion, the dropouts, and the cassette settings. Then this Every Rod Vinyl Stereo, where I had it on the presence boost preset. I just turned off the noise, the crackle, and the clicks. Then the simple soothe, where I had it on the hard setting and the knob to 3.0. This RC20 with the cassette first generation preset, I just tweaked it that I just have the wobble, the distortion, and the EQ on. Then this Valhalla Vintage Rub, where I tweaked the mix, the decay, and the low cut. And then this simple EQ where I just ducked some of the lows, cut out some of the lows, and ducked this one frequency that I didn't really like. And the finished rendered out bell is sounding like this. Then for the top line, I have this glistening block box from Keyscape Creative again, from Omnisphere basically. And I laid down this pattern, which is pretty simple again. It's just in C minor chord without the D sharp. And then I just copied the D sharp right here and put in D right there just for some tension. And all I really did was just making an ARP out of this chord. And then I just copied it over and copied it over again. But then I reversed it, as you can see, like when I do this, then it's just reversed for some variation. And that's all I did for the top line, which sounds like this. And for the effect on this bell, I don't have anything besides this EQ, where I just cut out a lot of the lows, some of the low mids, and a lot of the highs. And now I'll show y'all what I added as well, which was this strings loop from Splice, then this frozen stone keys preset out of Keyscape Creative just for some texture, where I laid down this pattern, and then just the Luca Ambient texture, which is out of my newest kit, which will drop pretty soon. It's the Exoplanet. I'll put the cover on the screen right now. It will have 50 phrases, 50 one-shots, 30 samples, 15 drum loops, 11 textures, and an RC20 bank with 15 presets, but I'm gonna let y'all know when it drops. And yeah, I have this texture right here, which is automatically time stretched, and these three sounds together are sounding like this. And I'm gonna show y'all the mastering chain after I showed y'all these three samples, so y'all make sure to stay tuned for that. Then for the next sample, which y'all have already heard, I have this bell pattern right here, which looks like hella messy, and it is hella messy, which y'all will hear in a second. And all I really just did was freestyling this pattern, which sounds like kind of dumb, and it is kind of dumb, but I put the effect chain on, which I have showed y'all, and it sounds so different to when y'all hear this melody right here, to when I show y'all the ran out melody. And all I really just did, as I said, I can't really explain it. I put down an F minor chord and then just arpeggiated it, then have the C, C sharp, and A sharp right here, the C sharp F, which makes like almost a C sharp major chord, but I removed the top note. Then I have the C as in filler note, then the C sharp and C just for some tension, and then this random chord progression right here, which doesn't make any sense at all. And the weird pattern without the effect chain, first of all, sounds like this. And for the sound that I used for this bell, my bad for not showing it to y'all, I used the Dulce Tone River bell, or like key, from the Keyscape Creative library again. And as you've heard, this pattern is so weird and it doesn't make any sense at all. But then I just added this effect chain with the shaper box, portal, halftime, and these two EQs and the soothe. And I obviously added 25% in stereo again. And now with the effect chain and everything else, it sounds like this. So the most important part while making these type of samples is really trusting the process, because as y'all have heard, the first bell pattern is really weird and it doesn't make any sense and it's just like a weird bell pattern. But then I just added the effect chain and it sounded so good, and it gives it like a whole different feeling, and as I said, like a vintage and unique bounce. And then I obviously have some effects on the ran out bell, which is this RC20 with the vinyl 1 preset. I just had it on for the wobble and the EQ. Then this fresh air where the mid air to 19% and the higher to 32%. Then this Valhalla vintage warp where I tweaked the mix, the decay, and the low cut. Then this simple soothe on its soft setting and the knob to 2.0. And then this through the parametric EQ just to cut out some lows. And I added 27% in stereo. And then for the top line, I added this simple flute like hit, which is from the rare flute bank from Splice. And I pitched it down by 6 just to bring it into the key. I lowered the volume by almost 50%. And I put the mode to stretch. And as you can see, I just have this reverse note right here just to make like a clean transition between the first note and the second note. And the second note, I pitched it up by 12, lowered the volume a bit more, put the mode to stretch again, the declicking mode to generic, and the flute top line is sounding like this. And for the effects on this top line, I have this RC20 with the vinyl 1 preset where I tweaked the wobble and the EQ. Then this fresh air where at the mid air to 19% and the higher to 32%. Then the soothe again on its soft setting and the knob to 2.0. And this Valhalla vintage warp where I tweaked the mix, the decay, and the low cut again. This simple soothe again on its same settings. Then this EQ where I just cut out some of the lows and I added 25% in stereo. Then for the texture sounds and the bass line, I just have these three sounds right here. And then obviously the bass line, I have the Luca bus stop texture, which is out of my Goldmine kit. And I just pitch it down by 5 because I pitched the whole sample up by 5 on my mastering chain and I didn't want the bus stop texture to like change their pitch or sound. And that's basically all I did. This is the first pattern right here, which is just some pretty low chords. And by the way, I didn't even use this pattern right here as I just heard. And the bass line is just the root notes from the bell. And I didn't want to experiment with the bass line because it just sounded good how it was. You don't always need to go crazy with these type of samples because most of the time the simple stuff works and you don't have to overcomplicate anything. And these three sounds together, because I removed the one that I just showed y'all, are sounding like this. And one thing I want to show y'all is, let's say I put the scale F minor in, and as you can see right here, I have the C and the C sharp, which are in the scale, which are just the white notes as you can see, and you can use them to create some tension. So let's say I have these sounds right here, I just use the C sharp and pitch it down by 12, because these notes don't complement each other, as well as like in C and in C obviously, but like in different octaves. You can just use this technique or use this, where you just put the notes close to each other because they won't like clash. It will sound pretty dark, as you just heard in the sample. And for this pattern, I wanted to mention that I just randomized the velocities and didn't do anything else for it. And now for the third sample, which you have already heard, I have this simple synth sound right here, which I obviously used again from Omnisphere, and it was the mantle synth clef sound from Keyscape Creative again. And all I really just did here was just laying down the C minor chord without the D sharp, and then just copied the D sharp up, as you can see, and putting this D, because as I told y'all, to create some tension, I put this D right here, the D6, and then again the G sharp, which goes to a G, just obviously to create some tension again. The G is obviously below the G sharp, and it just creates some tension and makes the sample sound more dark. And I basically just arpeggiated the chord, and then I just copied this over right here, and then I just added this G and G sharp, and then this D and D sharp, just for like a little more rhythm and top line, and to make it sound a little bit more unique. And then I just copied it over, as you can see right here, but I changed the root notes just that it has like some more variation again, and I changed the velocities just to make it sound a little bit more realistic, and the finished pattern is sounding like this. And then for the effects on this sound, I have this EQ just to cut out some frequencies that I didn't really like. Then the shaper box is just for this little side chain. Then this Valhalla vintage verb where I tweaked the mix, the decay and the low cut as always. Then this simple EQ where I cut out a lot of the lows and low mids and some of the highs, just to make it like sound a little bit more vintage and to duck it a little bit more into the background, even though it's the main melody. Even though it's the main melody, I just didn't want it to have as much lows. Then this simple soothe on its hard setting and the knob to 5.9. Then this EQ where I just cut out some of the lows and ducked some of the highs, and I had it 22% in stereo. Then as you can see right here, for the rest of the sample, I have this vocal right here, the simple lead sound right there, then just some texture out of my upcoming Exoplanet kit, and then just this bass line to complete the sample. So as you can see, you don't need to have like 8 sounds or 10 sounds to make like a good sample. All I have for this sample are basically 4 sounds and 1 texture, and that's all I did for the sample. And the bass line, vocal, lead and the texture together are sounding like this. And for the mastering chain, I have this Apex Vintage Exciter with the Dark Mix preset, then this Chroma Tape Stereo with the Mastering Clean and Open preset, this Abbey Road Vinyl Stereo with the Creamy Strings preset, but I turned off the noise, the crackle and the clicks, then this L1 limiter just to make the sample louder, then the Soundshifter Pitch Stereo from Waves where I just pitch it down by 1, and then this simple EQ where I just duck some of the lows and some of the highs just to make it sound more vintage. And I use this mastering chain on almost every of my samples. I obviously just tweak how loud it should be and the pitch, but that's like my main mastering chain for making vintage samples, and it almost always works. And I'm gonna play out the sample again just that you can imagine how the sample sounds together again, and it sounds like this. So yeah guys, if you all enjoyed this video, please make sure to leave a like and to subscribe to my channel. Please don't forget that it really means a lot for me, and it would really help me. And please let me know in the comments if y'all like this video, and if y'all like this type of video and the style of the video where I break down 3 samples. I usually just want to break down the single like patterns and to show you how to make the main melodies, because especially for me it's like the hardest part to make like these main melodies to build off of. And yeah, as I said, make sure to check out my kits. The link for that is in the description, and use code Luca20 for 20% off on all my kits. And stay tuned for the Exoplanet kit, because it will be the biggest kit I've ever dropped, and it will be the best kit I've ever dropped with almost 200 high quality sounds. It's about 190 sounds, so y'all don't miss out on that. It's gonna be $20, and with the code Luca20 y'all will get 20% off. But I'm gonna let y'all know when it drops, and thank y'all for watching till the end. Please don't forget to leave a like, as I said, and please don't forget to leave a comment on what y'all think of this video. And with that being said, yeah guys, see y'all.